quick disclaimer before we start. The opening episode of Season 3, Josiah moved to Colorado, and his mic, unfortunately, did not move with him. His microphone stayed with me. That was not on purpose, but it is what it is. So he's ordering a new mic, but it has not come in yet, so the audio, mine sounds great, as always, but Josiah's audio might not sound as awesome this episode. If this is your first time listening to Learn Me Something, this is not normally what it sounds like. Okay, that's it. Let's dive into it.
Today on Learn Me Something.
The Sonic Wind
versus
Animal Rain.
Caleb, it's season 3 of Learn Me Something.
Baby.
Finally.
We did it.
It's so good to be back. It's good to see you, but there's been a couple changes.
Yeah, mostly
since we've
for
talked
you.
On the podcast last. Yeah. So kind of the reason it took so long for us to get back going was I got married and I moved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're back
within
to
a week.
the remote.
So it's kind of a busy month for me, back to the remote, which is not very fun. It's way better in person, but we're still making it work.
We both have like 3 different devices, all trying to make things work out.
Yeah, we have all the devices we have access to.
Yep.
And we're putting them to use.
But we're here, and we're recording, and Learn Me Something is back, baby. And
yeah,
okay, we are maybe 2 minutes in to the first episode of Season 3, and I've said baby twice. So I'm going to try to let that be the end.
Good start.
For the whole season. That's the last baby.
Sounds good. Okay.
So, how are things down in Colorado?
Going good. We've been here for 2 weeks from tomorrow. Been working. Abby started her job this week.
Nice.
At a hospital nearby.
Good old Awkward Abe.
Awkward Abe. For those of you that don't know, she left a review as Awkward Abe, and we didn't know who it was for a while.
How does it feel to know that you married one of the first reviewers of our podcast?
Pretty good.
And we didn't even know it was her.
That's how I chose my wife.
Who will be the first reviewer? I'm going to marry that person.
She's got to be a reviewer. Hope I like her. Yeah, things are going good. We like it here. It's city life's a little different than life in small town Montana.
Totally.
As you know.
Totally.
I've lived in Austin. So, it's super good, though. I've been biking everywhere. I bought this little bike.
That's so fun.
And, it's fun. It's fun. The bike is a nice combination of just dangerous enough that it's interesting, keeps you on your toes.
Yep.
And the speed and the exercise is like a perfect 3-for-1 combo.
Love it. The perfect 3-for-1.
It just is a great start to the day. Yeah.
It's kind of crazy. When we started recording back in Season 1, I was remote and you were in Montana. And now, and then we did Season 2, we were both in Montana. And Season 3, you're remote and I'm in Montana. So who knows what'll happen in Season 4?
Season 4, you're moving away. I'm away also.
We both have to be away. I feel like...
Both in different states.
Yeah, that kind of... Mom, don't freak out. We're joking here. But that kind of seems like the natural, if we want to keep the pattern. Seems like the natural progression.
I don't know what else we do next, and then we restart.
Yep.
I move back, you move away.
We'll move to Texas.
Or stay away.
Yeah.
That seems like the next best progression.
So the last time the Learn Me Something crowd heard from us, the Learn Me Something army, I regretted that as soon as it popped into my head. We were doing a live episode, and I got my ear pierced.
Yeah, you did.
That feels like ages ago, but that has long since healed.
That's for a week, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
1 week. That's
a full week you had it.
It did. I have a tiny little notch of, like a little bump in my earlobe now, of I guess.
Yeah, a little extra cartilage.
Yep. So I'll have a forever reminder of that one live episode we did.
Good.
Another big thing before we dive headfirst into Season 3 is... actually, I lied. I realized we had a few things to talk about. But another thing to talk about is something I forgot. Holy cow.
We're talking about the nightclub?
Yes. Talk about that.
Yeah, so we got an extra little mini podcast for all of our patrons.
Oh yeah.
So we've got 4 episodes out already, and so you can go if you become a patron, you can listen to those, but they're for patrons only. And a little bead of sweat is forming on my head. It's so hot in here. I'm just sitting in my closet recording. No airflow whatsoever.
Yeah, that's
It's just like a little 6x4 room.
good.
And it's hot in here.
Welcome to the heat.
So I might glisten as we go. Yeah, it feels good. Got to get your sweat on. Yeah.
So a note to you patrons: we originally started the LMS nightclub as a fun way to keep giving stuff to you guys while we were in our off season. Since you are monthly donors, and we're very thankful. But little sneak attack surprise for you: we had a lot of fun making those nightclub episodes. So for patrons, even though we've started season 3, we're gonna keep making those every other week. We're going to just record them the same day we record these episodes, and then we'll release them. So if you're a patron, or if you want to become a patron, you'll have double the trouble, double the action. Listen to the episode, then bop right over to the nightclub for the after party.
Yeah, super fun. I'm kind of looking forward to that a lot. Like, I have a lot of fun with those.
There's like...
It's very different than this one. It's not structured at all. Not that this is super structured, but it's very, very unstructured.
Yeah. So if you're not a patron, you haven't listened to one, every episode so far has been just totally random. One episode we did just like mini topics. One episode we spent the whole time talking about like what to do if you're in a geese attack or being attacked by a goose. And we
some kissing tips.
Kissing tips. We created a whole system to communicate for like an illegal business using litter and sidewalk trash.
I think that's a real thing. I actually saw something like that in a TV show.
What?
Like shortly after we talked about it.
That's kind of a bummer because
I think that might be a real thing.
I really thought we invented that and thought it was cool. Another thing to note is when we started this podcast, our big grand goal, our dream, if you will, was to someday hit 50 episodes, and that is going to happen this season. So far, the first 2 seasons have been 20 episodes each, and so halfway through this season, we're going to hit our 50 episode, couple years now, not 50 years, but a couple years. We're going to hit that benchmark.
2.5 years.
So that'll be a party.
Yeah, that's very exciting. Yeah, because that was the one thing that we're not stopping until we hit 50 episodes, and we're on track to do it, so it's exciting.
Love it. Okay, anything else that you want to talk about? Kind of get the season open, get things rolling before we dive into our first topics of season 3.
Nice. I don't think so. I'm just excited to be back.
Oh, yeah.
I got my topic ready for today, and I'm ready to win.
I'm itching. I don't have a way to end that funny sentence.
You're just itching.
I'm just itching. It's been an itchy day.
Okay.
Oh, last thing, and then we'll dive in.
Yeah.
We want to involve the audience a little bit more this season. So one of the things, we've got a few changes in the works that I think will be really fun. One of the things we want to do is start doing some Q&A. So we'll put that on our social media. That's at Learn Podcast, wherever you go to social media. Mostly Instagram is what we use. And so we'll put some polls out there and put some questions and stuff. And if you answer those, we'll talk about them in the podcast. And that'll be a fun way to kind of continue this loving back and forth we've got going.
Yeah. Yeah. Let us know. Jump out. Jump out there. Jump in.
Yeah.
Come on in.
You're welcome.
Come on over.
Grab your microphone. Come join us. It's time.
Whenever.
All right, Josiah, you won the live episode, and I pierced
did.
my ear, and so now you get to choose who goes first.
I got to choose who goes first. I think I'm going to start the season off.
Okay.
With my topic.
It's bold.
So I'm going to go first.
Josiah, you're setting the pace for this season, so if this is bad, oof. We might not make 50.
Actually, I have low expectations. I'm going to shoot for the stars.
Okay.
And hopefully we'll meet somewhere in the middle. Okay.
Ooh, that's a good line.
Thank you. Anyone can steal that quote and quote themselves if you'd like.
All right, hit me. Hit me with your topic.
Okay, what's the scariest roller coaster you've ever been on?
Only roller coaster. Oh, actually, Silverwood, a little amusement park in Idaho, closest thing we've got to something fun in Montana,
Yeah.
amusement-wise.
Yeah.
That's in Idaho, right? I didn't make that up.
Yeah, it
Okay.
is. It is.
I forget the name of the roller coaster, but I was just too little to fit, but the guy let me through anyway. I was a little kid, like barely was too short for the height requirement. I was super skinny. But the guy was like, you know what, you're with your dad, you can go anyway. Turns out those height requirements are pretty helpful. And since I was so tiny and short, the seatbelt like didn't fit right. So I spent the whole time like floating up in the seat, and my dad was like holding me down. That I screamed and cried a lot. That was not very fun.
Okay, so memorable but not fun.
Yep.
Okay, that sounds a lot like this device that I'm going to be talking about today
Oh no.
called the Sonic Wind 1.
The Sonic Wind 1.
It's not a roller coaster, but it's like the most exciting, boring roller coaster you've ever seen in your life.
Is it just straight? Is it?
It's literally just straight.
Oh, really?
But I'll talk more about it.
Okay.
So first we need to go back to the early 1900s and meet this guy, Colonel John Paul Stapp.
Every good
But
Learn
I'm
Me
gonna
Something
call him-
episode starts in the early 1900s.
It really does. Lots happened. And I'm going to call him John Stop just because it's funnier and it'll make sense.
Okay.
That'll make sense in a bit.
Oh, good.
So
Good.
Stop was born in Brazil to missionary parents. Just a quick background on
Yep.
him. And he got his bachelor's in zoology.
Nice.
Then he got a PhD in biophysics.
Okay.
And then his medical doctorate. He's got an MD.
It's nice. So smart guy.
And then, so he's kind of just jumping around,
Yeah.
taking a wide variety of courses. And then he goes straight to the Air Force and works as a flight surgeon
Oh,
for a couple years.
fun jump. He's
Yeah,
getting life
and-
experience is what he's doing.
Yeah, he's making it happen. He's like, I don't want to just sit around. I want to learn about animals and then also learn how to do surgery on an airplane. And I don't know if a flight surgeon actually does surgery on an airplane or they're just a surgeon for the Air Force. Or maybe they do surgeries for pilots.
Or maybe they're just that's just a fancy word that they call like airplane mechanics, and they're doing surgery on the planes
Oh, a
themselves.
flight surgeon. Maybe he didn't even work with humans. He just worked with planes. He did plane surgery.
Yeah, I'm a flight surgeon. We got to get this wing fixed before we get this baby. Oh no, I just said baby again.
That was instant regret. Just let it fly, man. Don't be ashamed.
That's what he said to the plane after he fixed the wing.
Exactly. Let it fly, man. We're going to get this to fly. Yeah, we're just going to stitch this right up, and you'll be on your way.
Anywho.
So anyway, he did some studies on hypoxia, which is like when there's like a loss of cabin pressure in a plane, and you don't get as much oxygen, and weird stuff happens to your brain.
Yep.
So he did some work on that, but eventually, based on that, I think he kind of was actually working with humans, doing surgery on humans. So I think maybe that's why he's called a flight surgeon, because he specializes with stuff that happens, injuries that happen on
In-flight
planes.
stuff.
That's my theory.
That's a interesting niche, if that theory is correct. That's kind of odd.
Yeah.
But I support it.
Yeah.
He's all about life experience, so that's good.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And so eventually he was assigned to a deceleration project.
That sounds cool.
So they started building what's called a rocket sled.
I love it.
And this rocket sled is the boring / dangerous roller coaster that we talked about. And so the purpose of these rocket sleds is just for testing. And he specifically was doing tests on ejection speeds and wind blasts and finding out what would happen at different speeds when pilots have to eject from their plane. Like what happens when the wind hits their face immediately and what happens when you slow down.
Yep.
Super, super fast. So originally, around this time, it was thought that humans could only survive up to 17 or 18 Gs. I say only, but that's crazy.
That's. Do you know what the like a space rocket is?
Yeah, so I looked into this. A gravitron, which is the ride at the fair where you stand against the wall and it spins around.
Oh,
and
yeah.
kind of the walls slide
Yep.
up, and you're pressed against the wall. That's about 3 Gs.
3?
Yeah, 3 Gs.
That's crazy.
And apparently, astronauts going into space on a rocket experience about 3 or 4 Gs as well.
Oh.
So it's really not that different.
Huh. I was expecting it to be like, and that seems like a lot, but here's what it is going to space. But you're like, no, they're about the same.
Yeah, and
That's crazy.
I believe, like, pilots in like those F-18s that do those crazy, like the Blue Angels.
Yep.
They do 7 and 8 Gs with training. They can sustain that and stay conscious, but a lot of people lose consciousness.
Yep.
I think somewhere between like 3 and 7.
Well,
Sustained Gs. Well, not 3. I mean, some people I'm sure pass out on the gravitron, but
well, I
think a lot of people are going to pass out around 5 or 6.
Yep. I just saw Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah.
And so I know this scientifically based off that movie, that it's somewhere around 5 and 6. Because that movie is completely accurate, I would imagine.
Yeah, and they actually have suits that help you. So, like, pilots wear G suits. I don't think it's called that. Something like that. Special suit that helps you stay conscious when you're experiencing super heavy Gs.
Does it just play?
And so they can get up to like 11 or 12 with those suits.
Does it just play nice music
I don't know.
and every so often say, "Please stay awake,"
Please take deep breaths.
but not too deep.
Yeah.
Don't hold your breath at any point during the ride.
Yeah. So you can get better with training.
Yeah, that's.
But
very
anyway,
interesting.
so they thought originally that 17 or 18 Gs was the limit and people would just die at that point.
Yeah.
I think 17 or 18 sustained Gs, not like instantaneous. But planes were only built to take like 18 Gs.
Yep.
So they were doing some testing and they found through the rocket sled tests that humans can survive much more than that.
Interesting.
And we'll get into specifics later, but because of this, engineers put stricter guidelines into the engineering of the planes, and so they made it safer so that when planes did hit higher Gs, it's not going to break apart.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good thing for them to
Because
have.
I just thought, well, if the human's dead anyway, who cares if the plane stays
Right.
together? But they kind of realized, oh, maybe humans are a little more resilient than we thought before.
So let's make the plane stronger.
So-
that makes sense.
In 1954, so Stop was working on these rocket sleds, and he was going on them and doing tests and getting all this data. But they did one huge test in 1954, and it's the most dangerous one yet.
Oh,
On the Sonic Wind 1, which is the name of this rocket sled.
Wind 1. I can't wait.
And if you Google Sonic Wind, you get a bunch of pictures of Sonic the Hedgehog with his little special power up from this video game that we used to play growing up.
Yep.
Sonic Wind!
Sonic Wind.
And then a couple pictures of the rocket sled. So you'll find it eventually. You'll know what it looks like.
Keep scrolling. It's not a picture of Sonic. You'll get there.
It's there. So basically, it's 6 rockets strapped to the back of a seat, and that seat's on this platform that is on a track.
Oh, wow.
Like a train track or a roller coaster track. And it's just out in the middle of the desert in New Mexico, and it's just super long. And they did tests forwards and backwards where they had people sitting forwards and backwards. And you can see videos of these tests too. And they found out that stopping super quickly backwards is a lot safer. So they implemented that into some planes, but then commercial airlines were like, nah, we're going to keep it forward.
Nah.
Because I guess it's a little more uncomfortable for some people on long flights to fly backwards.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So they're like, nah. If the plane goes down, I don't know how much safer it is to have the seat backwards. Like, you're probably just not going to make it anyway.
If you're dying, you're dying. Also, the test you described gives off major Mythbusters vibes.
It really does. It looks like something they would do,
Yeah.
but just huge scale. So the purpose of this final test was to specifically see at what speeds humans can safely eject from an aircraft, and they just went full pedal to the metal on this one.
Yeah.
And John, stop. Do you get stop
Yep.
now? Deceleration test. Okay.
John, stop. That's
He
good. That's rich.
he felt it was too dangerous to ask anyone else to do the test, because they did tests with just empty, nobody in the seat, and then they did tests with animals in the seat.
Oh, tell me
think
he
they
did
did
it
monkeys.
himself.
And he did it himself.
What a man.
He had done tests before, but this one was crazy fast.
That's the quickest way to become a superhero by accident. This is too dangerous for
I
anyone
know.
else. I'll test it on myself.
Yeah, those words have been said a lot in comic books, I think. And so he is quoted as saying, "I have the missionary spirit. When asked to do something, I do it. I took my risks for information that will always be of benefit. Risks like that are worthwhile."
Good guy.
So he's
Good
like,
fella.
this is going to provide some data that will hopefully save some lives.
Yep.
It's worth the risk. And he had gotten injured in rocket sleds before, too, that weren't hitting speeds that this one was going to hit. So they get out there, and he walks up, straps in. He's got like a helmet with a visor on. He straps his arms to the armrests, and his head is strapped to the headrest of the seat.
That'd be terrifying.
And everybody's just checking on everything, making sure it's good. And then a siren goes off. Everybody else runs back to the bunker quite a ways away. So he's just sitting there in the middle of the desert, probably baking, and he just has to wait and stare. Like, there's nothing in front of him. He just has to stare down this track that he probably can't see the end of.
That's terrifying.
And he's just sitting there, siren going off, and he just has to be calm, knowing he's just going to
At some point, shooting off. Hopefully they had like an out loud countdown so he could at least prepare himself.
They had a countdown, and he said, somebody asked him once what he was thinking, and he said, "John, it's been a good life." He's like ready to die.
Wow, could you imagine? That's crazy. I can't imagine. Just like, well, if I go, I go. This is going to be interesting.
Yeah, and so timer goes 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And on 0, he goes from 0 to 632 miles an hour in 5 seconds.
That is insane.
So 0 to 600 in 5 seconds. And then he immediately hits a water break system. So in the video you see just spray of water everywhere. So I think it's basically like a puddle just on the ground. And once this hits that water, it just
slows it up.
Slows down crazy.
That's so crazy.
And I think they have a mechanical brake system too. And so he hit the water brake system and came to a stop in 1.25 seconds.
Wow.
From 632 miles an hour.
That's
so
absurd.
This whole thing lasted less than 7 seconds.
Yeah.
And for a fraction of a second, he experienced 42 Gs.
Oh, no way.
Of deceleration. Overall, it was over 20 Gs.
Yeah.
Like sustained Gs.
But 42 is the peak.
Also, I realize if you don't know what a G is, a listener, 1 G is the weight that you feel right now, like the force of gravity on Earth's surface. And so basically 42 Gs. I think the calculation is confusing from what I was finding out, so it's not 42 times your weight is what it would feel like. Different. But basically he felt about 8,000 pounds of pressure in that 1 second.
I wonder what the Gs, or how many Gs it is when you just take off in a normal plane and you're just a passenger. Because you can feel it push you back. Like, I wonder what that would be. 2, maybe?
Yeah. Maybe, yeah. And, I mean, nothing is normal as 1.
Yeah.
So, I guess, probably somewhere around there.
So there's no...
So, at the end of the track, there was 2 vehicles there. One was Stop's car, and one was an ambulance. And they just were both, depending on how he was,
like,
he could get into either
car.
You're
either going home after this, or you're going straight to the hospital.
Exactly.
That's awesome. So there's no way he stayed conscious during this, right?
Oh, he was conscious, yeah.
What?
And they took photos of his face during this. It's very interesting.
And his cheeks were like 30 feet behind.
And then in front of him. Well, actually, I think the pictures that I saw, he didn't have a visor on, so that must have been from different tests. But you can see pictures of his face while he's accelerating and decelerating. Yeah. So everybody rushed out. The medics ran out, and they opened the visor on his helmet, and he couldn't see anything but red because all the blood vessels in his eyes had ruptured.
Oh, wow.
Which is a retinal hemorrhage.
Yeah.
And so he was blind for a few minutes. Couldn't see anything.
That would be very scary.
Eventually started regaining his sight. And this is the one fact that made me want to talk about this. He got 2 huge black eyes from the impact of his eyeballs hitting his eyelids.
What? That is crazy.
I did not know that was possible. Is that not crazy?
Holy cow.
Basically, his eyeballs punched his eyelids so hard that he gave himself a black eye.
Oh, wow. Good for him for surviving that.
I heard that and I was like, I gotta do some more research on this guy.
I gotta know more about John Stopp here.
I know, and from additional injuries from this 7 seconds was he fractured a wrist, he broke a couple ribs.
Wow.
He got a concussion, like I mentioned, the retinal hemorrhage. Yep. He got a hernia as well.
So this was not a fun flight or a fun ride.
And he knew he would get injured too because in past tests that he's done, he had broken, I think, his wrist before or a rib.
Yeah.
And he also got one of the fillings in his teeth knocked out in a past test as well. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
I think that sounds like a bad dentist. I don't know.
That's wild.
Yeah. So like I said, the most boring roller coaster ever, because it's just straight, but it's so scary and dangerous.
The fact that he hurt himself in the past and still was like, "Yep, let's do it even more intense."
Yeah,
I don't have that same grit in me. I don't think I'd be like, "That hurt my wrist. I'm out of here.
I'm done. I can't do this."
Where's
anymore.
your manager?
That was the last test that he did on the rocket sled.
Yeah.
He eventually wanted to do another, like his next test that he was planning for was he wanted to hit 1,000 miles an hour.
Holy cow.
But he never got clearance to do it. So.
Which is sad.
From this test, though, they found a couple of their findings. They found that a pilot flying at 35,000 feet at twice the speed of sound could survive the wind blast if they had to eject.
Wow.
And
that's crazy.
Yeah. So, and they also found that this is a quote, the effects of that run were relatively negligible, but the data obtained was invaluable. So I'm assuming by effects he means his injuries.
So he's
like, I got better.
He's like, I was blind pretty bad, and my whole face hurts, along with a good chunk of the rest of my body. But boy, did we get some good numbers out of that.
Really not a huge deal. Think of the data.
You gotta love science to have that attitude.
I know. Yeah, this guy is dedicated to his craft. And to this day, that was the highest G's ever pulled by somebody voluntarily.
Wow.
And the key word there is voluntarily.
Uh-oh.
So the highest recorded G's that somebody has survived is 214.
Uh-uh.
Which just seems absolutely absurd.
No way.
I'm not... I tried to verify it. Guinness Book of World Records said it was on there, which I don't know how much checking they do.
Yeah.
But a couple places I found... it was a race car driver, an IndyCar driver named Kenny Brack.
Uh-huh.
He survived a split-second deceleration of 214 Gs during a 220 mile an hour crash.
Wow.
In Texas in 2003. And so the data was registered by his car in the crash violence recording system. So I don't know. That seems absurd.
Good for the race car manufacturers to be able to for him
got
to
some
even
data
have a
out of it.
chance to survive that.
I know. Yeah, and there's video of that too. It's crazy.
Oof, that would be so scary.
So Kenny Brack suffered fractures of his right femur, sternum, lumbar vertebra, and ankles.
Wow.
And got launched into the air and crazy.
Wow. 220 something?
Yeah, 214.
That seems like unfathomable.
So I'm not 100% sure about that, but that's just what the car registered.
Yeah.
So it's possible that it was wrong, but
I wonder what has...
basically a lot.
Yeah. I wonder what has more of an impact, sustained G's or sudden G's? Probably sudden, because of it.
Probably, on your body, like
Yeah.
you break stuff. But sustained G's, I feel like would just... I don't know, like what would happen if you hit 40 G's for like a minute?
And just held it?
I think that'd probably kill you.
You think? Only one way to
I don't
find
know
out.
much, but... Oh, we're trying it. Okay.
All Mythbusters.
I'll get started on the rocket sled.
Sounds good.
And so the future, after his rocket sled adventures, he realized that more Air Force pilots die in car accidents than plane accidents.
Oh.
So he moved right on to the next thing, and he became an advocate for seatbelts.
Wow.
And he created another sled as a demonstration on how seatbelts could be effective in saving lives. And he was one of the main people to kind of help get that
Good for him.
legal. And when it was signed into law, he was one of the guys standing behind the president's desk.
Good for you, John Stopp.
And fun fact, in 1955 is when he kind of started showing people this rocket sled and doing these tests. Yeah. And eventually they just had people coming back every year. And in 3 months from now, the 66th STAP car crash conference will take place 10 miles from where I'm recording this.
What? Are you going to go?
Here in Denver. No, I looked into it. It looks very boring.
Well,
they talk about how seatbelts could be improved, basically.
That sounds like a thrill ride.
I mean, it could be interesting, but
I say
I won't be here by then either.
Yeah.
That's my excuse.
I say more cushion, maybe, or
cushion. Okay.
Perhaps a some sort of system where it kind of breathes a little better. I get my seatbelt strap area, like of my shoulder down, gets a little sweaty sometimes in the hot.
Okay, yeah. Like just poke some holes in it.
Yeah, exactly.
Little fan.
Maybe a non-metal attacher would be nice.
Yeah. Or make it water cooled or something.
Yeah. Water cooled.
In the actual seatbelt part with the button on it, water cool the inside of that.
So it's always cool to the touch. Love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Or just water cool the inside of the car.
Maybe we should go to this conference thing.
We've got some ideas.
I don't know why more people aren't doing this.
Anyway, that's what I got. The Sonic Wind 1 and Colonel John Paul Stapp's scariest roller coaster ride ever.
Wow. That's good. That's good stuff. I think you set the bar pretty high. What was it you said? You had low expectations, but reached for the stars.
I have low expectations. No, you have low expectations. I'll shoot for the stars, and we'll meet in the middle.
Somewhere in the middle. I could see that floating around on like some Facebook page with like a stock photo of a sunrise behind it.
Yeah, or like a minion.
Yeah.
Like a minion cooking or something.
That's good stuff.
Like a mom meme.
A mom meme.
A mom Facebook meme.
Yep. Exactly.
That's a topic I want to talk about actually.
Mom memes?
Is like minions.
Oh.
Like why have they become the thing that they are?
I do not understand.
Isn't that interesting?
They were fun supporting role, and now they're just this thing, this industry.
I know. Like you can, probably half the shirts and backpacks at a clothing store for kids are minions.
Yeah, it's crazy. When we went to Florida earlier this summer, all of the parachutes for what's it called? It's not paragliding. Is it paragliding? No. What's it called when you go off the parasailing? That's what I was looking for.
Oh.
All of those parachutes were all minions. They were
Really?
custom minion looking. Yep. I don't know why. It
Interesting.
was interesting. Okay, before I
I'll
get
be on the
into mine,
lookout.
do you want to give a quick commercial for something? Take your pick.
Sure. This episode is brought to you by Sonic the Hedgehog video games.
Oh, yeah.
If you're into speed
Oh,
and you're
yeah.
into video games, this is the one for you. And you can grab a Sonic the Hedgehog video game at any of your local Game Stops.
I was suggesting more like telling people to join our Patreon, but that was
I
way
know.
better.
One time I saw a video of, you know how Sonic does the little roll thing?
Yep.
He like speeds up.
And it goes. Yep.
Yeah. I saw a video that was what Sonic's point of view would look like while he was doing that. Very
I
funny.
haven't even thought about that. That is very interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. It's got
He's a talented guy.
quick brain, quick eyes.
Quick eyes.
I guess. Anyway, the Nightclub. That's our patron podcast.
Yep.
Very fun. Like I said before, I love it. I'm looking forward to that. Recording that after this.
Oh yeah.
So come join us over there. What you can do even is become a patron for like $1 a month. Listen to all the episodes and then cancel it.
Do what you.
That's something you could do.
Yep.
Or you can wait like a month or two till we build up some more episodes, and then like twice a year, you subscribe. It'll cost you $2 a year. You can listen to everything. That's one strategy.
You're giving them ways to work the system.
Yeah. Or you can find somebody who's a patron and bum off of them.
Yep. You've got lots of options.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Work around the paywall we've set up if you can.
One of the good options, though, is to just pay monthly. That's nice, too.
If you want. That's the boring way.
All right, Josiah. Today, I am going... This is a weird topic. Today, I'm going to argue the point that Sharknado is not only possible, but may have already happened.
Are you talking about the Kentucky meat tornado?
No, but that's good too. Well, actually,
Do you know about
yeah,
that?
I do know about that as part of my research for this episode. This is very weird. Do you know about that?
I did a little research on it.
The Kentucky meat storm. All right, well, let's get into my topic, and then maybe we'll revisit it. There's probably a spot in here where I could bring it up for a second.
Sure, sounds good.
Have you seen the movie?
I thought you were gonna say Sharknado is not only good, but should be celebrated more or something.
Well,
like that.
I actually I watched it for research. I think I would argue that too. It is so
You
entertaining.
think it's good? Okay.
Have you seen it? Have you seen the movie?
Yeah, a long time ago. Yeah.
One of my favorite parts is when the guy dives headfirst into a shark's mouth with a chainsaw, kills the shark from the inside out, cuts through his stomach, climbs out, and then realizes that he happened to dive into the same shark that killed his girlfriend earlier in the movie. And so then he dragged
still
her
in
out,
there?
and she was still alive and well.
Oh, not bad.
Yeah. So pretty realistic movie, and pretty fascinating plot. The thing that makes it interesting is, as absurd as the movie is, and as ridiculous as the plot is, it's not technically scientifically incorrect. And I say that carefully because in many, many, many cases, it is technically scientifically incorrect. But the main premise of the movie, which is that a shark can be picked up by bad weather and tossed on screaming civilians, may, in fact, be possible.
It's possible.
And
okay.
that brings us to a real-life phenomenon that's been called, or coined, animal rain, which will be my topic for the day.
Okay.
So animal rain is a rare weather meteorological phenomenon. That actually, it's rare, but it actually occurs more often than you might think. And it's very real, has thousands of years of history to back it up. We'll start in 23 AD, which is one of the first documented cases of it from Pliny the Elder, who was a naturalist philosopher.
I've heard of him. What else is he famous for? Do you know?
I looked up his Wikipedia, and it was a long article, so I know he's got something other than this. But he was a writer, and he actually documented some cases of frogs and fish raining from the sky. So animal rain is exactly what it sounds like. It comes with a storm, and so it'll be raining. You got these raindrops, and you're like, man, it's raining. I should get inside or get my umbrella out. Then all of a sudden, boom. Oh, I hit my microphone, so that boom was probably...
Boom. Sonic wind happens.
Yeah, boom.
I realize...
Animals...
Animal, rain, sonic, wind.
Yeah.
Coincidence?
I think not.
Maybe.
Fast forward, there's a ton of these stories, so I just picked some fun ones. 1794, some French soldiers, they're in the middle of the Revolutionary War. I imagine they're fighting pretty hard. It's stormy. They glance up, boom, attacked by toads. Toads raining from the sky with the rain. They're getting... I was trying to think of what that sound would be. It would be like... something like that.
That's pretty good.
Thanks.
Yeah, because as frogs are splatting...
Yeah.
And you get like a... rabbit. Like it's just ribbiting on the way down as it passes you.
Could you imagine being the first person to notice this? Like you're outside in the rain.
It's gotta be like,
for whatever reason.
I'm sure people thought it was like a plague.
Yeah, definitely. And there's lots of instances when they thought it was like a plague or it was like something from God, that kind of thing. Memphis, 1877, rain comes. All of a sudden, foot-long garter snakes start falling from the sky.
Oh.
And a lot of them were still alive when they landed. Could you imagine how scary that would be?
That's freaky.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder if any got into people's houses, like through the chimneys or something.
Oh, I can't even imagine.
Or just popped into a window.
Yep, just
a snake through the window.
Could you imagine having a snake phobia? And you're just like out strolling down the street with an umbrella, and then all of a sudden you hear thunk, 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 and then like they're slithering down your umbrella.
Yeah, even if you're just outside in a field, and a snake lands on your shoulders, and you look around and there's nothing around. That's freaky. Yeah. That's a sign from God.
Yep. We'll get to that in a minute. The one that scares me the most. But 1887, 10 years later in Minnesota, alligators... One guy was out in the field, and he was a doctor, not a medical doctor, some type of biological something. He was out studying out on a farm. An alligator, he said he saw an alligator fall from the sky, and then he was like, huh, it's raining alligators. And then he saw a total of 8 fall from the sky, and then just...
That's wild.
Yep. I don't think all of them lived, but a couple of them lived and like scurried off.
That is wild.
So there's tons.
Yeah, because the smaller the animal, the more likely they are to survive.
Yep.
A fall of any height. That's throwback to the second episode, I think.
Yeah.
We talked about base jumping cats.
Base jumping cats. I forgot about that.
That's crazy.
That's good stuff. Louisiana, 1947. Here's a quote from an article I read. The Louisiana Department of Wildlife biologist A.D. Bajkoff, I think is how you pronounce it, or Bajkoff, claimed there were spots on Main Street in the vicinity of the bank I was at, averaging 1 fish per square yard. Automobiles and trucks were running over them. So, 1947, fish rained from the sky, and a lot of fish. Had to have been, for there to be that many, had to have been hundreds.
That's crazy. That's a lot of fish.
This one I'm a big fan of. 2017. So there's, I kind of walked through history because I thought that was fun. But there's a ton within like the last 10 years. If you look them up, you can just read story after story. 2017 in California, a bunch of school kids were out out at recess playing, and they start getting slapped in the face by fish. And it said they had to run for cover because they were all getting just pelted by fish. I just can't imagine a circumstance where that started like, how do you even react to that as a person?
I don't. I mean, run like they did.
Yeah. But like after,
Get
like,
inside!
how do you process?
Oh, I'm sure they were like telling their parents, like, okay, that's fun. That's nice, honey. Like, that's fun. Fun playtime you had.
Yeah,
Like,
fun
wait,
play.
And they're, wait, why are you covered in blood?
Right. 2021.
That's crazy.
Texarkana. Here's a quote. There was a loud crack of thunder. When we opened up the bay door, I looked outside and it was raining real hard. Adersh, I think is his last name, told KTAL, a fish hit the ground, and then I said, it's raining fish. It really is. And fish were dropping everywhere. Here.
Yeehaw! That's crazy.
Yep.
So you're saying this is possible to happen to one of us?
In our lifetimes, yeah.
Have you? Yeah, go ahead.
The common denominator, we'll talk about the science in a bit, but much, much, much more likely to happen in certain spots in the world.
Yeah, I was going to say, did you notice like a trend? Like these areas typically, they're more likely to happen.
Other animals, this is the one that would scare me the most. Spiders, it's happened in Australia too, but in 2013 in Brazil, apparently just like thousands and thousands of spiders, living spiders, started falling from the sky, and it said they detached webs like anchors and caught on trees, and the second they caught, they just started spinning new webs. So like the whole area was just covered in like a blanket of spider webs. How that sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah.
Just
Isn't that a thing that happens in Australia?
raining spiders.
No. Just like cobwebs everywhere.
Oh.
There's like a certain season. Do you know anything about that?
I don't, but honestly, the more I learn about Australia, the more scared I am of it. Not gonna lie to you. Like intense things happen over there, just with nature.
Yeah, I wouldn't look up pictures of spiderwebs blanket Australian landscapes after floods.
You just looked it up.
This was last summer.
Yeah, not
crazy looking.
Not a fan.
Okay, so that happened. That's more likely than you think.
Tadpoles in Japan completely covered streets and cars. Clumps of tangled worms and dirt. Louisiana, 2007. Most of the worms were still alive, so they were literally like balls of dirt with like tons of worms crawling in through them. So it was like snowballs.
A worm king. That's gross.
Yeah, very disgusting.
Hold on. Sorry, I have to stop you. I just remembered something that I witnessed. Let's see, 2015, 2016?
Uh-huh. Just graduated high school.
I saw a fish in the middle of a road.
What?
Flopping around. Okay, here's the story. So I was in Cambodia.
Yep.
Helping out a YWAM base there. And just sharing the gospel and teaching English and stuff. Super great.
Yeah.
We were on a tuk-tuk, which is like a little motorcycle that pulls a 2 or 3 wheeled thing. I don't remember. And this guy, the guy driving, comes up to it, and we all see it, and he stops, pulls over the side of the road, and it's just this fish just flopping, like kind of slowly making its way across the road. I'm like, where in the world did this come from? And it was a little bit of flood season, so there was a little bit of standing water, but it was probably, like there was puddles, but it was probably 50 yards from the nearest body of water.
That's pretty crazy.
And so what happened was this guy pulls over, and he gets off his motorcycle, opens the seat and pulls out a little plastic bag. And he walks over, grabs the fish, puts it in the bag, and then ties up the bag, and just throws it at our feet. and just hops on his motorcycle and keeps going. It's completely normal. He's like, well, I got some dinner tonight.
Here's this fish. Better grab that.
Just another day. A road fish. Is that crazy?
That is crazy.
I can't believe I didn't think about that until just now.
I'm really happy that you have like a relating story because this is so far away from anything I've ever experienced.
Yeah. Man, that kind of blows my mind still when I think about that.
Yeah.
It's like, there's a fish in the road.
Oh.
Yeah, that fish. You know what, actually?
What?
Oh, no, that was different fish. There's another fish that was put in a plastic bag that survived for about an hour, and then we put it in a fountain, and it lived for a couple months. That's another story for another time, though.
Another one, 1997. This was just corroborated or like seen by one guy, so it might not be real. A frozen squid, fell from the sky and hit this guy. Apparently,
What?
he was out.
Did it freeze in the air?
I don't know. I don't. Maybe
Or it got picked up from like a little outdoor market?
I don't remember, but I wanna say he was like kind of in the Arctic area, like doing some fishing or something.
And somehow it froze.
And somehow
That's
it froze
crazy.
and got picked up and tossed on him. I don't know if that one's real. The one I read that apparently was the most dangerous was stinging jellyfish in England. Rained from the sky, and they were like living and stinging. So people, I imagine, were very afraid of that situation. I would be terrified.
Do you know if anyone got stung?
I don't. I couldn't find much about that story. So that one might. Oh, probably a lot of these might not be real, but there are so many different documents that the concept itself has to be real.
Yeah.
But some of these have been corroborated by a lot of people. So, like, some of these are most definitely real. Like the Texarkana one, the Louisiana one, the California one. But, yeah, so all very interesting. Another, we can talk about the Kentucky meat rain now, which I found while I was researching this story. And it doesn't really relate, but it kind of does.
Yeah.
It's at the 1800s, so people, like, it's not super, super reliable, but a lot of places wrote, like the New York Times wrote about it and stuff, so fairly possible that this could be real. Said that a lot of people all of a sudden saw meat raining from the sky, like it looked like beef that was just raining from so not animals, just meat itself.
Yeah.
And one guy, or I guess a couple guys, ate some of it and said it just tasted like venison. And then, so there's all this controversy because no one knew where it came from.
Why would you eat that?
Yeah, that's disgusting. And very, very unsafe. Well, hopefully they cooked it, I guess. They didn't just, let's see what this is.
I mean, still, though, you don't just walk around and grab stuff, cook it, and eat it.
Yeah.
Just because it looks like it might be food.
The interesting thing is...
That's just my hot take, I guess.
Yeah. Interesting thing is, no one really knows how it happened for sure. And some doctors were like, there's nothing this could be but horse meat. And so, or not doctors, scientists. I guess scientists can be doctors too. But, so there were some stories like that, and the whole thing was just kind of shrouded in mystery. And people still don't know. The very best guess that people came up with is that a group, or I guess a pack of birds flew over that had been eating on some meat, and they like vomited it. And it was just a huge pack of birds, and I guess for some reason they all vomited or something.
Yeah, like a vulture's lunch.
Yeah.
Or a plane flew over, a bunch of birds got sucked into the propellers.
And chopped them all up and rained
spit
meat.
them out. Graded them.
So that's a weird story.
I saw a picture, like somebody has it in a jar.
Yep. That's
they
very...
like saved it.
Ew, gross.
And they got it still.
The only place that claims consistent animal rain is in Yoro, Honduras. They call it, and I didn't look up how to say this, so forgive me if you're from Honduras. Lluvia de peces.
Fish rain? Oh.
Translates to rain of fish. So, yeah. And it happens for the last 40 years, every single year in May or June with the first big
What?
rain. Yeah. So according to legend, this part wasn't. This is their legend.
Every single year?
Yep. They said way back, like those 40 years ago, the village was in bad poverty, which it still kind of is, from what I understand. And a man prayed for 3 days for food, and then this has been happening ever since. But it's like a big thing. Like they're known as the Fish Rain town or village. So when people are like, "Where you're from?" I read one article with a quote from someone who lives there that when they're asked, they say, "I'm from the Fish Rain town." And it's this big thing. So after the rain, they have a big celebration. So they'll hear the rain and they can hear that it's happening. And then all the villagers grab their buckets and they run out into the streets and they just start grabbing fish. And
That's so cool.
yeah, they have this big celebration and they're not allowed to sell any of it. It's in their law that no one's allowed to sell any of the fish because they see it as a blessing from God. So it's just like here's fish, we're all eating, share it, do whatever, have fun meals.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's it. And apparently it's a impoverished area, so a lot of them can't afford to like buy fish. So this is like a huge deal for them every year.
That's
To have
cool.
their yearly fish. Pretty cool. And National Geographic even went down in the 1970s. They checked it out, saw the whole situation. They found that a couple interesting things. One, they found that none of the fish were indigenous to the area, so they came from somewhere else.
Wow.
And two, all of the fish that fell were blind. And they think it's because they came from caves or underground rivers and hadn't
like
seen
deep
light.
sea fish.
Yeah. So when they got pulled into the light, they went blind from the exposure. Isn't that very weird?
Get it. Yeah.
Yeah. And this place is like 100 miles from the ocean too.
No way. I thought it was a coastal town.
One thing I read was maybe you should look that up. I might be wrong, but I thought I remember reading that this specific area or the specific village was like way inland. But anyway, you can look that up. I might be wrong.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm looking at a little map. It's inland for sure.
Yeah. Isn't that weird?
That's very cool.
Yeah. So then the question you're probably asking yourself is, how is this happening? And I would respond by asking you, how did it happen in Sharknado? Do you remember?
Tornadoes.
Yep. More specifically,
Water spout.
water spouts. Yeah, which I had never heard of a water spout before. It's just a tornado over water that pulls the water up. And there are some more intense called like tornadic water spouts, and I think those are just like a tornado and a water spout somehow mixed together. So
Sure.
I don't really
Just
exactly know the
bigger.
distinction, but the tornadic water spouts are a lot stronger as far as wind. So basically, Sharknado was right about this. They had their science down. They were wrong about everything else scientifically, but the main concept, they actually weren't too far off. This is laughing. I was watching like a recap video too of the movie, and a shark killed a guy at ankle level water in this movie. And they're like, that doesn't make sense. And it's just like
It was swimming around and
he was like
couple
standing
inches of
on the
water?
beach, and the water was up to his ankles, and he just like got sucked down and murdered. Like what?
a sand shark.
Yeah. A house also flooded clear to the second floor, and they could barely escape from the house, and they finally escaped from the house, and they run down to the street. The street was dry and fine, but the house, which was up on a hill, collapsed because of water. So somehow just the house flooded. I thought that was pretty interesting. So they got most of
Not
their
bad.
science wrong. But about the Sharknadoes, they got the concept right.
Except
So-
for probably the size of the animals.
Yeah.
Like, it sounds like the biggest thing that people have seen rain down is alligators.
Yep.
And they're probably smallish ones.
Yeah, so there's
So
some
small sharks could
there's some
probably
debate here.
have.
I'm not saying that it has happened, or I'm not saying that it's possible or that it's happened. I'm just trying to argue that it could be, if that makes sense. Because I want to believe this with everything in me.
It's not possible, but it could be.
I'm not. I want the listeners to be certain that I'm not saying 100% this is the case. But my argument is that maybe.
Okay. Okay. I like it.
So, water
Sharknado
spouts.
could happen.
Yeah, water spouts. I read a couple different numbers. One said like 200-mile-an-hour winds, like gusts. One said like 150-mile-an-hour. So what they do is they cause this intense updraft when they're over the water, and that acts as like a vacuum. So stuff close to the surface gets sucked up, literally, and float around until the clouds with the wind, until the wind comes down enough for them all to drop and come raining back down. So that's all the stories I mentioned. That's the cause of them, is that they get sucked up in these vacuums. They float around in the clouds, and, tornadoes
That's
move.
so crazy.
Yeah, tornadoes move and stuff, so they're just up in the clouds moving with this tornado until it, it loses its power, and then they all come raining down eventually with the normal rain. Isn't that very weird?
That's so crazy. I can't quite wrap my head around it.
And the guy who got this right, the guy who figured out this was the cause, was Andre Mori Amphiri. Do you recognize that name?
Andre? No, I don't.
Well, it might be because I mispronounced it. That's a good possibility. But he is one of the leading scientists who discovered magnetism in the I don't remember. I think it's the 1700s. He was key in like figuring out all that work. Apparently, he took a break from all that because he was like, "We've got to figure out this animal raining from the sky situation."
Honestly, if that happens to you, you kind of drop everything.
Yeah.
And you're like, this is important.
Forget electricity. Forget learning how to harness it. We've got to figure out why there's fish and alligators falling from the sky. Isn't that weird?
That's so wild.
So he didn't look at it super hard, but he took like a random stab at it and ended up being right. He didn't say the word water spout, but he said like extreme weather that picks up these animals, drops them off somewhere else. So, are they strong enough to handle sharks? And I have here written in my notes, not sure, honestly. Read a bunch of math stuff about lift and vacuums and suction and got a little confused. What? But basically, I don't think mathematicians care quite enough about this to have like a bunch of articles on the internet. But I found some like Reddit pages, some Quora pages, from these guys who seem like they know a lot about math, who are trying to like break it down. Some of them said no. Some of them said, well, maybe. And it all comes down to, they have to be close to the surface. It has to be really strong wind. They've got to be close to the surface of the water. Otherwise, they won't get vacuumed up. Or they have to be in a spot that's shallow enough that the water spout takes the entire body of water. And so even if they were at the bottom, it takes the whole thing. That's a possibility.
Like with the blind fish.
Yep.
Like maybe there was in some deep cave river or something.
That just got sucked out. Yep.
That's so wild.
Isn't that interesting? On land, a person, I think I remember this right, a person can withstand, they can keep standing with a up to 60 mile per hour's wind. After that, it'll cause you to fall and stuff. It's that strong.
Mm-hmm.
At 100 miles per hour, you're picked up. Most humans would be picked up by that amount of wind and carried. Okay. And so it's very plausible, given a shark, pick a type of shark, would be like 210, I read, to 285 for like a white shark. I think a white shark, maybe a bull shark. Anyway, some type of shark, one of the smaller types of sharks, are very much so like weighted the same as a human. And if these water spouts can kicked up to, 150, 200 miles per hour,
that'll do it.
it's totally possible that it could snag a shark. The only condition is it would have to be reached by the vacuum effect. So if it was too deep, wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
The question is, what could be strong enough to pick up a shark? Perhaps a cyclone? Do you think?
I'm going to be honest. I don't know exactly what a cyclone is.
Me either. We grew up in Montana. I don't know the details of what it is. But
Is that
the reason,
a type of tornado?
I think it's just a huge storm.
Oh.
Why don't you Google it? The reason I bring it up is because, remember at the beginning of my topic, I said I'm going to argue that a Sharknado could be possible and may have already happened. And that's because of Cyclone Debbie in 2017 in Australia. Emergency officials had to officially warn people not to play in the floodwaters because they found a bull shark in the middle of a road where there wasn't any water. It was bottomed out. Yep. It was bottomed out. There's no water. It was 7 to 8 miles inland. And it had died, but it was just laying there. Middle of the road. Is
it possible that it swam in there and then the waters kind of receded and then it just died when it couldn't get out?
That's what some people say. That some people think that it was in the Oh, hold on. I gotta look closer at this word. The Burdekin River.
I found the definition of a cyclone.
Yeah, hit me.
Which is very interesting, actually. And this might be super common knowledge, but it's called a hurricane when it develops over the North Atlantic, North Pacific, and Eastern North Pacific.
Uh-huh.
And it's called a cyclone when it forms over the South Pacific and Indian Ocean. And a typhoon when it develops in the Northwest Pacific.
Interesting. Who knew?
So it's based on location.
It's all the same. It's just geographically.
It's like what you call a water fountain or a bubbler.
Yeah, or a drink it up.
Do you call it a water bottle or a water bottle?
Call it a water bottle. Sounds like Pac-Man.
It kind of does, actually. Thank you, British people.
So some people think it came from this river, got caught in a torrent, and then got confused.
Sure.
So this town is called Ayr, A-Y-R. I hope I pronounced that right, but if not, sorry. Thing is, the river is not very close to that town. So the town's too far inland to have had enough flooding for the shark to come from the coast. So people say, well, maybe it came from this river because the river has had sharks in the past, but the spot that it landed was not very close at all to this river. And people who saw the cyclone said that they had no doubt that because this was pretty big news, actually. Like, this hit big. It was around the time Sharknado was happening anyway, like the movie industry.
Yeah.
Some people saw the cyclone and said they have no doubt that it was strong enough to throw something that big around. Which leads me to the only choice that we have, which is to accept, Josiah, that a Sharknado just might, have happened. It was the right conditions with the right evidence to have lined up, and other evidence supporting different theories, in this case, seem somehow more far-fetched than the fact that it got picked up by bad weather and thrown or tossed onto dry land. So
I'm convinced. I'm in.
There's the end of my argument. Sharknadoes are possible, and one might have already happened. Maybe more, but one documented might have already happened.
I believe it. I'm a believer.
Yep. That's my topic. Sharknado. The truth.
Could have happened.
Huh?
One aspect of it. The main aspect of it.
I did read some a couple articles that were like, if this was happening, it wouldn't be like scary. It might be like, whoa, there's sharks, but like they're most likely not alive. Like if they got picked up, so did a bunch of other things like metal and sharp stuff.
Yeah.
And odds are, it just
Getting
got
sliced
killed.
and diced.
Yeah. So that same article said the scariest, most dangerous one that happened was the stinging jellyfish one in England.
Yeah. Yeah, because those things could fall from anywhere and be fine.
Yep.
Well, if you get hit in the head by a shark, that probably could take you out too.
Yeah, and they don't like close their mouths when they die necessarily, so you could get chopped.
Might go mouth first right onto your face.
It happened in Sharknado multiple times.
Yeah, I've seen it.
That girl who fell out of the helicopter, that shark jumped 50 feet into the sky and ate her right up.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yep. She was alive though. He went in with a chainsaw later and happened to be the same shark, so it worked out.
Man, they should do a movie about her, which she's been through.
Can you believe there's been 5 of those? And that the sixth Sharknado movie is supposed to have time travel and dinosaurs and space.
No. Okay, it's like Fast and Furious though. They're just like, how crazy can we get?
It's Fast and Furious, but they started absurd. They didn't get to absurd. They started there, so now it just has to get crazier. Honestly, I'm a fan. I'm a big fan.
Good.
There you have it.
That's crazy. Okay, that's very interesting. The sonic wind versus animal rain.
Yep.
Almost. If you don't know what the sonic wind is, it seems a weather-themed episode.
Yeah, honestly, by accident.
Yeah.
Man.
It's not, because the sonic wind is not weather. But
it's not.
It's cohesive branding.
Don't get yourself confused, listeners. It is not a themed episode.
If you thought it was, go back and listen to my topic again.
If we catch wind that you're calling it a themed episode to other people, help me.
I'm going to get so angry. Okay, so if you're new to this podcast, the way that this works is we've each presented a topic now, and we're going to put out a poll, and you can go and vote for who you think did better, or who had a better topic, or whoever you like better. If you like me better, go vote for me. So we'll link that in the show notes and on our social media. Mm-hmm. You can find that. Please vote for us. And the loser has to do a punishment.
Yeah.
So go ahead and tell them what that is. Do you remember it?
I do, yeah.
Okay.
The punishment this episode to get us kicked off strong, since TikTok is a big thing right now, and we're trying to up our social media game, the loser of this episode will have to take 3. Do you think 3 is a good number, or is that a hefty?
That seems pretty hefty to me, but I mean,
you want to do?
You said it.
You said 2?
It, so we got to go with it.
All right, we'll do 3.
Going 3.
It's a punishment. We can't make it easier for ourselves.
Nah, I really don't want to do this one.
The loser has to. You shouldn't have said that. People are going to be like, "Hey, we're going to get him."
That's true.
Loser has to take 3 of the most trending TikTok dances that they can find, learn the dance, and then record the dance, and we'll post it on our social media, on Instagram and on TikTok for your personal enjoyment. So as you're voting, you could think of, like, who do I want to see do these dances more? And honestly, I haven't seen a lot because the algorithm has decided I'm not into those videos, which is accurate.
Sure.
But some of the ones I've seen are pretty complex and might take some work to figure out.
Take some time.
Yep.
Might have to take some lessons or something. The pro of this is you might become a better dancer.
Yeah. Cons.
Just think of it like that.
Public humiliation.
Win-lose. It's okay.
And you're doing TikTok trends that are being formed by 14-year-old middle schoolers.
It builds character.
Yep. So that's the punishment. Take to the polls and get voting.
Charge the polls!
So, again, you can vote in the show notes below. Super easy. You finish listening to this episode, you do a quick scroll down, you click that link, you vote. Or the more fun option is to jump over to our Instagram and give us a follow at Learn Podcast, and you can vote there. And I mentioned we're trying to up our social media game. I have a challenge for the people, and it, because of my wife, it has to be a hefty goal. I was going to make it easier, but she added some stipulations. So the challenge is, by the end of Season 3, if we have 3,000 followers on our Instagram, I'll shave my head. And I'll keep it shaved for a while.
Yeah.
And if
You
you
should
don't...
bleach it too.
What?
You know that look where guys like bleach their hair and shave it?
Oof.
You should do that too.
Oof. We'll see what happens. So that's my challenge. 3,000 followers on Instagram, and we'll be posting fun stuff all season on Instagram. 3,000 followers. By the end of this season, I'll shave my head.
I think we can do it, everybody.
You're going to have to work
Do
hard.
what you got to do.
You're going to have to share. You're going to have to leave reviews, get us more public. You're going to have to, if you're listening and haven't followed, you're going to have to do that.
Yeah, it's 10 followers a day-ish. We can do it.
Somewhere around there.
Come together, band together, we can do it.
Band together. Cool.
Take to the polls.
You got anything else?
Vote for me.
No. Hey, why should they vote for you? And then I'll tell them why.
They should vote for
wrong.
me because I shared the history of Colonel John Paul Stapp and his stopping and about his legacy in plane and car safety and how his eyeballs punched his eyelids like a little punching bag.
Nice. And you should vote for me because I took a beloved film and made it even more beloved by introducing the possibility that it is completely scientifically sound and logical. And I think that's worth a vote. Yep.
Could be. Very well could be. I'm super happy to be back.
Yeah.
It's very fun.
Season 3 starting strong. I'm already having a great time. I'm a big fan.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're only like a quarter of the way done recording today.
Yeah.
No, just kidding. We're gonna record the nightclub, but they're not as long as this.
No, yeah.
But more content for you content heads.
Yeah, if you love the podcast, the nightclub is more chaotic. It's less structured. It's really a gamble because you never know what's going to happen if you choose to listen.
It's a great time.
So
It's a great time.
you're going to
So
definitely want to jump on our Patreon. Check that out.
Sounds good. Okay, I will see you over there then.
Yeah, we'll bop over for the after party. Yeah?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, let's wrap this episode up.
All right, sounds good. Hey, Larry. Yeah, I know you've been sitting in the corner of my closet for this whole time, and it's getting hot. But if you could do just go ahead and play us out. Thanks.
Thank you, Larry.